This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.
If you didn't know any better, you would think you lived on level ground. That's how you perceive the world. Every day of your life. Still, you believe different. Contrary to what your senses tell you, you believe living on this. No more land to discover. So why would you have the desire to explore for more? To prevent you from doing that, this would be a perfect way to do it. Just teach you a sphere you can't leave. In an endless vacuum of space, with other galaxies light years apart. We all came from nothing by a giant explosion. How can you actually know this? Only by consuming information. In various ways. What if you didn't? Imagine being completely free to discover everything for yourself. This whole wide realm and beyond. From whenever you want. To feel the magic. Think about it. If you never believed in these cartoons, would you ever believe this? And this? Probably not. They can make you believe anything, including the scary things. They can maintain your fear through TV. This can go incredibly far. What if you can break free from it? How much fun would that be? You would find out where we are, who we are, and what can be experienced here. All of us. They couldn't sell you this shit anymore. This fear would vanish. Overnight. And the inventors of this shit show would be eliminated permanently.
Hello everyone, my name is Taboo Conspiracy, and I'm a flat earther. As I've said before, I believe that Flat Earth is the key to ending our physical, mental, scientific, educational, financial, and spiritual enslavement. That's the only reason why I'm here, and that's why I'm passionate about the Flat Earth, and that's why the anti-truthers are trying so hard to shut us down. My topic for this presentation is, what does it mean to be a Flat Earther? We know that the media would proclaim that Flat Earthers are just stupid or uneducated, holding on to unproven, antiquated beliefs. Well, I have a bachelor's, a Juris Doctorate, and a master's, and many other Flat Earthers also have advanced degrees. We have PhDs, engineers, pilots, military professionals, lawyers, surveyors, and teachers. Okay, so maybe we have the same formal education, but maybe we Flat Earthers are just ignorant of the heliocentric model. Surprisingly, nearly every Flat Earther knows more about the heliocentric model than your typical ball earther. We're going to have a little quiz here. Let's see how good you Flat Earthers are at restating heliocentric dogma without looking up the answers. Question 1. How fast does the ground of the Earth allegedly rotate at the equator? Approximately 1,000 miles per hour. Question 2. How fast is the alleged Earth's orbit around the Sun? 66,600 miles per hour. Question 3. How far away is the Sun purportedly from the Earth? 93 million miles. Question 4. How are seasons caused according to the heliocentric model? Because the Earth is tilted. Question 5. How many degrees is the alleged axial tilt of the Earth? 23.4 degrees or 66.6 degrees, depending on how you want to view it. Question 6. How far away is the moon, allegedly? From surface to surface, it would be 234,000 miles. Question 7. What is the radius of the alleged ball Earth, and what is its circumference? Radius equals 3,959 miles. Circumference, 25,000 miles. Question 8. What formula can you use to determine the rate at which the alleged ball Earth drops away from you? 8 inches per mile squared. Try to find any globe-loving audience anywhere that can answer those questions better. We Flat Earthers are certainly not ignorant of the heliocentric model. In fact, when you really think about the flying, vortexing heliocentric model, you begin to realize how stupid it really is. Since they try to obscure their actual beliefs, let me tell you what a ball earther believes. They believe all of the planets, moons, asteroids, meteors, and satellites of our solar system are chasing after the sun that is flying around our galaxy at a speed of 514,000 miles per hour. This video isn't scaled properly, but if you scale it properly with the sun having a diameter of just 1 centimeter on your computer screen, Pluto would then be outside your home 42 meters away from the sun. That's ridiculous. But what's even more crazy is the fact that they believe that all of the planets and moons of the solar system are all on this same plane of the sun as they chase after the sun. So, in a year time, the sun would have traveled in this left direction 4.5 billion miles in 1 year. However, planet Earth would have also traveled 4.5 billion miles chasing after the sun in the same left direction, but in addition, Earth would have simultaneously traveled up and down 584 million miles in an ellipse around the sun. If you're still struggling with the silliness of this, next time you're in a marathon, try sidestepping back and forth at great distances while simultaneously trying to keep up with the leader, and maybe you'll see the problem. Like I've said before, I don't care how many degrees you have. This is stupid. Ball earthers believe that a comet, like Halley's Comet, can get yanked back every 75 years and catch right back up with a zooming solar system right on schedule. That's stupid. They believe that even though the Earth is wobbling, spinning, and vortexing through the vacuum of space at insane speeds, that the North Star has never changed position in recorded history simply because it's really, really, really far away. That's stupid. They believe that all the wobbling, spinning, and vortexing through space cannot be felt, measured, or detected on Earth. Einstein himself said there was no optical experiment that can detect the Earth's motion. That's stupid. They believe that the moon appears reddish during a lunar eclipse because the sun rises and sunsets of the Earth are refracting onto the moon 234,000 miles away. That's stupid. They believe that a selenelion occurs because the sun and moon, which are both above the horizon, somehow aren't really there but only appear there because of refraction, which strangely only happens during a lunar eclipse. That's stupid. They believe that the sun and moon only appear to be the same size in our sky, based solely on an impossible coincidence. To understand the scale of this, for a tall 7'2" man representing the diameter of the sun, the ball earther would claim that the moon would have a mere diameter of the eraser on a pencil. But from our point of view on the Earth, the sun and moon only appear to have the same diameter based solely on a coincidence. That's stupid. They believe that during a solar eclipse that the shadow of the moon, which is supposed to have a diameter of 2,159 miles, casts a shadow on Earth that is only 70 miles in diameter. That's stupid. They believe that our pressurized atmosphere is adjacent to an inconceivably powerful vacuum without any effect whatsoever on our air supply or anything else. That's stupid. They believe that the Earth curves away from you at 8 inches per mile squared based on a ball Earth radius of 3,959 miles, and yet all the evidence demonstrates that we see way too far and there is no measurable curvature. An Earth radius of 3,959 miles? That's stupid. Whether you're at the surface filming across a body of water or in an airplane with an infrared camera, they believe that you can see way too far because the atmosphere has this magical ability to remove all evidence of the curvature and wraps distant objects around the curvature. That's stupid. They want you to believe that if you were to stand on the west side of Utah Lake with binoculars, that the opposite eastern shore 13 miles away should be 70 feet below the horizon. That's stupid. They believe that all of our oceans are bendy and conform to the shape of a ball, but these bendy oceans simply disappear whenever you try to measure or detect them, and are certainly never encountered by naval forces. That's stupid. They believe that the bulge of the Earth can disappear and relocate many miles further while leaving objects in between unaffected, like in this infamous Black Swan video from BMLSB 69. Relocating geometric horizons in Earth bulges while not affecting the objects in between? That's stupid. They believe that the only way to tell whether a distant boat is actually a mirage is by the curvature calculator. No, that boat is not a mirage. That is stupid. They believe in the story of the lunar lander, which looks like it was shoddily made by a high school drama club, complete with black paper, tape, gold aluminum foil, and curtain rods, which somehow achieved speeds up to 4,000 miles per hour on descent and ascent, was never tested or flown on Earth, somehow didn't leave a blast crater, included enough room for a fold-up dune buggy, and had a miraculous air conditioning and fresh air system that could sustain life on the moon for more than 3 days. That's stupid. They believe those visible wires above the Apollo astronauts were only light reflections, and that the obvious vertical movie backdrops visible throughout the Apollo missions were actually real moon landscapes, despite the obvious line between the stage and the backdrop. That's stupid. They believe that the alleged ISS spaceship, which most certainly looks like a kid's model, which was never assembled on Earth for testing, is actually falling perpetually at 17,000 miles per hour in the vacuum of space. That's stupid. They believe that the unproven force of gravity from the moon pulls the oceans towards the moon but has no effect on anything else but the oceans. That's stupid. In addition to the alleged gravity of the moon pulling the oceans, they believe that the moon causes high tides on the opposite side of the Earth by causing the Earth to bounce, which bulges the oceans away from the moon. That's stupid. They believe that the bright moonlight that you can read from is actually a reflection of sunlight 234,000 miles away off of a dark gray dust ball, in total contradiction of the inverse square law of light. That's stupid. They believe in 19,287 space satellites, which are never photographed except for those ones attached to balloons.
Kill the programming. One of the most common phrases I have heard incessantly repeated by neophytes since reviving the International Flat Earth Research Society is, "Flat Earth is stupid." Even though it was historically the consensus cosmology among literally every ancient culture, in modern times, the concept of a flat Earth has become synonymous with stupidity. Calling someone a flat earther is now meant to insult their intelligence, and carries the connotation of being incredibly ignorant. But is this an accurate stereotype? Is the idea of a level, stationary Earth really the epitome of idiocy? And are people who promote it really so utterly unintelligent? Modern mainstream science treats the current conclusions of cosmology and astronomy as settled, set-in-stone subjects with little room for dissent. The heliocentric globe theory is never admitted in academia as being theoretical, but rather taken for granted as a cornerstone of modern scientific knowledge. If Earth is not a spinning ball revolving around the sun, however, then nearly the entirety of modern science and the majority of modern scientists are proven to be either frauds or fools. Therefore, questioning the shape of the Earth is the equivalent of scientific blasphemy, and flat earthers the equivalent of scientific heretics. Is this treatment truly warranted, though? Testing ideas, challenging assumptions, and furthering knowledge through evidence and critical scrutiny is the very definition of the scientific method. Science encourages and requires dissent to clarify conclusions, and questioning established scientific norms is precisely how new discoveries are made. One of the forefathers of the heliocentric globe theory, Galileo himself, said, quote, "In the sciences, the authority of thousands of opinions is not worth as much as one tiny spark of reason in an individual man." In other words, science is not a democracy, and scientific authority is not derived from majority opinion or expert decision, but rather from reason, evidence, and experiments. Globe defenders often deny or downplay the amount of legitimate criticism presented by skeptics, but it is undeniable that there are a large number of valid objections to the heliocentric globe theory. Casually denying something deemed stupid and deferring instead to expert opinions without doing your own due diligence in carefully considering all arguments commits two logical fallacies. Firstly, mocking, joking, or otherwise dismissing something as dumb without presenting a logical reason why commits the fallacy of appeal to ridicule. Secondly, blindly believing in something simply because all experts agree commits the fallacy of appeal to authority. When it comes to many supposed proofs of the heliocentric globe theory, such appeals to authority are often implicit without being readily recognized. For example, citing NASA images or astronauts' testimony as proof of a globe are not admissible as scientific evidence because they are not readily repeatable. The average person will never experience the frame of reference required to confirm or deny such claims, so quoting them as proof of a globe is invalid and unsound reasoning. In my experience, most people calling flat Earth stupid actually have no idea what the term flat Earth implies or what claims flat earthers actually make. For instance, many of them make wild assumptions about some kind of disk world floating suspended in space and ask asinine tongue-in-cheek questions like, where's the edge? What holds up the disk in space? Or why isn't there perpetual daylight everywhere on a flat Earth? Such comments show that these detractors have not done the slightest bit of research into the subject they are condemning, and thus reveal what they really find stupid are their own errant assumptions. By mixing their heliocentric outer space globe world indoctrination with false assumptions about what flat Earth actually means, they decide it must be dumb, and then close their minds to the possibility. Compare this with the average flat earther, all of whom received the exact same heliocentric globe education in school, but rather than assuming an alternative cosmology must be stupid or impossible, remained open-minded enough to engage with the material and learn a new perspective. Every flat earther I know fully believed the heliocentric globe theory taught at school and shown on television before doing their due diligence in researching the subject. Only after reading several books, viewing a number of documentaries, and then going out to personally perform their own experiments, do most people begin to realize that Earth is not a spinning ball. In order to learn anything new, it is an essential skill to temporarily suspend disbelief while taking in alternative information. Far from stupid, this ability is actually a key mark of intelligence. As F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote, "The truest sign of intelligence is the ability to entertain two contradictory ideas simultaneously." And as Aristotle noted, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without immediately accepting or rejecting it. The majority of people calling flat Earth stupid have never read a book on the subject. If they had, and were humble and honest enough with themselves, they would be forced to admit that there are undeniably a large number of legitimate criticisms and unanswered questions surrounding the heliocentric globe theory. When I first began researching the subject myself, I was repeatedly surprised by the intelligence of the flat Earth authors and the cogency of their arguments. 19th century authors like Samuel Rowbotham, Thomas Winship, William Carpenter, Albert Smith, Lady Blunt, David Wardlaw Scott, and many others wrote extensively and convincingly on the subject, sparking a decades-long worldwide debate about the shape of the Earth around the turn of the century. Personally, I have an IQ of 143, graduated with honors from university with a double BA in philosophy and English, and am now a published author with books translated into 30 languages. Since writing my own books on the subject and interacting with thousands of readers, I have continued to be surprised at the high average intelligence of fellow flat earthers contacting me. Conversely, the average globe believers have continued to disappoint me with their constant unintelligent insults, snarky sarcasm, haughty hubris, errant assumptions, logical fallacies, lack of common sense, and closed-minded conclusions. Regardless of where you currently stand on the subject, we should all be able to agree that questioning science is quite literally how you do science. It is not stupid to challenge established scientific norms, and in fact, that is the only way scientific progress is ever made.